Welcome to the Bobby Choo Podcast, guys.
Yes.
This is a show where we talk about all things life and ministry from the audio's perspective.
Yes.
This is episode 2.
Episode 2.
How are you, Johnston? It's been a while since I've seen you,
I
man.
got a haircut. That's what's up.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You look fresh.
My eyes are still small, so that's still the same. I have not done any plastic surgery yet.
That's cool, man.
Yeah. How about you, man? How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm
Philip
good.
Choo?
I am good. Thanks, man. I'm doing well. Now it's sort of the downtime of
Okay.
church life. Not really many events and things going on.
Right. So the next one should be Christmas, lah.
Yeah, talk about Christmas in August is a bit very long.
But you know it's coming.
It is coming.
There's 2 times in a year. It's like we got double Super Bowl in a year.
Yep.
For churches, it's always Easter, Good Friday, Easter,
Yep.
and Christmas.
Yeah.
Good Friday, Easter is more like the tone is like a little bit darker.
Whoa.
Christmas is a lot like brighter
That's cool.
because Jesus did get crucified on Good Friday, but then he comes back
He comes back, yeah.
Terminator style.
Terminator style. Yeah, I guess if you think hard enough, yeah. Terminator style.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So what have you been reading up on Audio World news updates? Do you have anything? Because I've got many things.
Okay, you got many. Okay, so since you got many things, and I don't have many things.
Okay.
I have actually nothing. I mean, there's nothing particularly new that has probably grabbed my attention, but I've actually been looking a lot more into like cable management.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been watching a lot of videos and just seeing a lot more things on how people run like proper cable management, specifically for like volunteers.
Okay.
Because I think a lot of times you can build like a system really, really neatly and nicely, but like if you can't troubleshoot it quick enough, that's kind of like that's where you generally, I feel, will have the toughest time lah.
Okay.
Especially when you talk to a lot of guys who do like events or like touring.
Yep.
There's a lot of times where there's a lot of contingencies.
Okay.
And also a lot of times there are a lot of things where it's not like, so for most, church installations, everything's usually embedded in the ground. You can't really see it. But when it comes to a lot of times where there's things like events or tours, a lot of stuff is just out and open. So kind of like putting myself a little bit more into like that kind of world. Just because I find like, okay, you know what, if you can sort of troubleshoot something well, you can document it well, I feel that helps out volunteers a lot better.
Nice.
Yeah.
Would you want to share with us what have you learned? Like cable management wise?
Cable management wise?
Yeah.
Okay. So firstly, I think in terms of cable management wise, everything is sort of laid out in front of you.
Okay.
So meaning that you can see everything. So by one glance, you can see everything.
Okay.
So which a lot of, like I said, with a lot of installs, there are a lot of things where it's embedded, you can't really see it. It's either put into the drywall, it's embedded underground. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. It's fine because it looks super duper neat.
Yep.
But I realized that actually kind of having out everything in front of you and being able to see it, being able to trace it, I think that's really where it'll be really, really nice for a lot of maybe churches to probably move into that.
Yep.
Just being a little bit more modular, a little bit more like it doesn't need to be, everything needs to be covered. I think also sometimes I feel now the aesthetic has changed a little bit. People kind of want to see what the cables look like. People kind of see what the tech kind of looks like also as well.
Okay.
So I think it's probably something that people who are building out these kind of systems, it's kind of really, really nice to be able to kind of like see everything up front, seeing all your inputs, seeing all your outputs.
Nice.
At least those main sections, then I think that will actually really, really help out a lot.
Nice. That's cool, man. Well, I've got a couple updates which I think that you will enjoy.
Your updates probably sound more interesting.
Yeah, well, news updates. I think it's been quite interesting in the audio world. There are a couple of new things that just came up, and I think the first thing would really interest you. Guess what?
More Yamaha.
Do you know UAD?
Oh yeah. Okay. I know.
I think you know where this is going. Yeah. So basically, for those people who don't know, UAD stands for Universal Audio. I don't know what D stands for. Do you know what D stands for? No idea.
Digital?
But anyway, digital maybe. But anyway, this company called Universal Audio. It's company that's very well known in the
studio world.
the studio world. And slowly they're making inroads into the live world.
Right, yeah.
And they are known for what is unique to UAD is that when you run plugins, you normally always have to. They always take up CPU from your laptop. But for UAD, you have their interface, the thing that you buy, has an embedded CPU,
right.
Which also makes them quite expensive compared to every other thing. But because they can run it directly from the UAD system and their hardware, so therefore it doesn't use up your computer's
CPU. It doesn't tax up any of the computer's CPU.
Exactly. And then I think so that was a long time their price point, and then obviously and their USP, unique selling point, and then now they
all these terms are UAD, USP.
I know, right? It's just going rolling, and then so then they released recently. They did Spark, which is their
the native.
Yep. Which you use, but recently, as of I think last week, they also just released Dante.
Which is
exactly.
I saw that also as well, which is
so it's basically the Apollo X16D. Which is Dante, which I think is actually quite interesting because for a long time, I know Waves has always dominated that side of VST into live situation with Waves, Super Rack and things. But now having UAD coming in with Apollo X16D, I think that opens up a lot of
I think that opens up a lot of possibilities.
But the price it is quite steep.
The
price they didn't release the price, but they say it starts from 4,000 USD.
Starts from 4,000.
Which is Malaysian convert maybe 4 point something. So maybe
just
20 grand.
Yeah, just safe to say it starts at 30 grand.
20 grand for 16 channels. It's a bit expensive.
It's a bit pricey. But
it's UAD.
Yeah, it's UAD. I think UAD stuff has generally been really, really known for their plugin modeling, and I think for me, I feel they really, really. You understand why people spend on the UA plugins? Is really they really do some really good, and I think even transitioning into integrating for stuff for live sound. I think a lot of live sound engineers
can't wait for that.
Can't wait for that because I feel like they really touch. Sometimes most live sound engineers are probably also all involved in the studio. They kind of know what power the studio has, and sometimes they just wish if I could just bring this thing
over here,
you just bring this thing here or this plugin here, or everybody has a favorite plugin. They wish man, if I just had this live, that will solve all my problems. You know what I mean? So I think that is something that is I don't know, sounds pretty. It's pretty exciting. Because Waves is dominated the thing for long time. Waves. This is not new, but Waves has their own
Super Rack
console.
Oh yes, that one I know. Yes.
So that's also something that is pretty cool.
I think it's quite interesting for UAD to go in a direction where they don't actually release any consoles or specific things, but they only just release it's still an audio interface, but just has Dante primary and secondary. I think it's really cool. I don't think we'll get it because it's just way too expensive for a price point. But I think I think what would be really interesting is see what the benchmark of latency is, because I think with live stuff is always
live stuff is always about latency though.
So I think it's going to be really interesting. For us currently we run the RUIO 16, which is a lot cheaper. That's maybe 7,000 for 16 channels as well. You can run Dante's as well, but that one so far is still a bit of latency. But so I'll be interested to see
because I guess a lot of them, a lot of manufacturers, they don't build plugins with that's why even all the Wave stuff, they have a version of one is let's say for example, I just saw this plugin the other day in my computer. It's there's a plugin called Sibilance.
Oh, yep.
Then there's a Sibilance Live.
Oh.
So there's actually the cater actually
for live sound.
For actually live sound as well. So I said, right. It really has to do a lot with the latency.
Yeah. Do you want to share for those people who don't know what latency is? Do you want to share a bit of why latency is important?
Is Malaysian timing. It's I'm trying to think how to explain this latency. Because every plugin is a processor, and when audio I guess the easiest way to explain it is when audio funnels through it. It takes time to process, and when it spits it back out, there's some delay in it, so you're not getting everything in real time.
Yes.
So this actually to have plugins work in almost very
Real
little
time.
latency or almost close to real time,
Yeah.
it's a very, very big deal because like we do everything. You just imagine if like I started talking and like you hear it slightly like point something
I know, right?
like delayed. It's a very weird
Yeah.
experience.
Very,
So
very
yeah.
different. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's a really good explanation. So,
Yeah.
do you think you would get the UAD Apollo XD?
I'm
16D?
waiting for sponsors. If Universal Audio, you hear this, I'm down to be your guinea pig. I'll return the item. I wouldn't mind returning the item, but Malaysia's a far place, so
Please send two.
Just send two.
And then
Send
you
one
go-
to me.
and
Send
then
one to
one-
Caleb.
Yup, and
we'll
then-
test it out.
Yeah, and then we'll be friends.
Yeah, we'll be friends. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all. I was just
Yeah.
asking.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's one update.
Okay.
I got another one. I think this is, I think most people say that you're quite a fashion icon in the audio world.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I never heard that before, but
I know.
yes.
So apparently, New Balance
Okay.
and Roland 808 and this designer called Thiago Lemons has collaborated to make a shoe.
Okay.
And it's called the NM 808.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh.
And it's basically the color of the 808
808
drum machine,
Which is like what?
but into a shoe.
Which is like black. and
Black,
green?
and then I think there's about like a bit of orange.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
they're
Wow.
collaborating on a new shoe.
But like music and like culture and like fashion,
Yeah.
is always like really, really integrated. Like,
Yeah.
I would love to. Okay, I would love to know, Caleb. Since we're talking about fashion, what is your production fit? Tell us what
Production
is
fit.
a product like. What is a good, high quality production fit?
Okay.
Like you want to walk into the place,
Yep.
people won't be like, sound guy. They'll be
Sound
like,
guy. Okay.
this is an audio engineer. What is a
Okay.
good production fit for all
Okay.
those people who are watching this and like want to dress well when
Yep.
they're doing sound.
Okay.
What is it?
So I think it's important that
Uh-huh.
fitting is the most important.
Okay, fitting is the
so
most important.
fitting, and I mean by how well does the shirt fit on you? It cannot be too short.
Okay,
cannot be too
short.
long.
Okay, there's a
Yeah.
reason why too short is a problem because sometimes when you're bending down and like rolling cables,
Yeah.
people can see the
Yeah.
crack the crack of
Yeah.
doom.
Yeah.
And it's prevalent. It's a problem in this community. So too short shirts is a problem. Okay?
So I think fit. So I think if you can get the fit right,
Right.
and then I think something that is stretchable and comfortable that
okay.
you are in,
So,
and that
so
looks
are you
smart.
trying to say skinnies? Skinnies are not really in anymore, but
No.
are you trying to say skinnies are not great for
Yes.
people in production?
I think skinnies is not a good thing for production.
Okay.
For pure reason is if you need to maneuver,
Maneuver.
and then it's
Okay.
not great. So I personally feel and I think this is quite a I think it might split people different ways.
Okay.
But
Wow.
I think investing in a good pair of pants.
Okay. Any
Really
pens?
does help.
Any pens to recommend? Though?
Yes, I actually do have
Okay.
a pen to recommend. And I know those people who know me will like completely slate me for it, but I really do recommend the Lululemon.
All right,
ABC pen.
killer. Okay, Lululemon. We're open to collabs too as well. New Balance can have their Rolands.
No, but no. To be honest, the reason why I say
Yeah.
Lululemon, yes, they are expensive.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, how you will wear pants that's every day, right?
Right,
This
yeah.
pants is like for you to work in and to be it's gonna work for you. You don't want
Yeah,
something to
yeah,
work
yeah.
against you, right?
Right.
And yeah, so if you and also like Lululemon is all about gym.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
obviously sound guys, we don't normally associate themselves with gym and athleisure, but if you know a sound guy out there and a lot of things that we do are very, very
Yeah, it's actually
physical.
Yeah, like easily, you do a show one day. There's 20,000 steps.
Yes, exactly. And
Where-
you have to run back and forth,
Exactly.
up and down. You gotta crawl into cracks. You
I
have to,
tell you,
mate.
it's very labor intensive.
Yes,
and you
very
know what?
labor
You're getting
intensive.
all your steps in,
Exactly.
and carrying like all the speakers. You're
Yeah,
getting your
yeah.
weights in.
And-
The
yeah.
only thing that always why even people are probably wondering like, hey guys, if you carry so much and walk so much,
Yeah.
why aren't you guys losing weight? Okay, there's only one reason.
Yes.
The reason is because sometimes the hours are weird, so the only thing left to eat like in the middle of the night is the mama lah.
Yes,
So
exactly.
so it's the food. So
the food, yeah. And the time-
Yeah,
and
the
the
food
timing.
and timing. So
Yeah.
that is the only thing that sabotages us.
Exactly. So
My blood will be like ripped.
Exactly. So I would highly recommend for anybody out there, you don't have to buy, just go and try.
Okay.
Just go to any Lululemon store near
Try
you, and just try on a pair of ABC pants.
Okay.
And then you will feel the difference.
Okay.
Like for me, I never used to be convinced,
right.
and then I sort of put it on, and I actually worked in them.
Okay.
They are great.
So you've actually tested this.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
what about
I think
shoes?
Shoes.
What are great?
I think it's important to wear something that it's Like for me, I wear New Balance.
Okay.
So New Balance 574, you can't really go wrong. They are comfortable.
Okay.
You can stand on them like really long
Long hours.
And they have to be comfortable. And
Yeah, like
they
high
also have
movement.
to be very durable because they need to take quite a beating. So I think New Balance 574 are pretty good. They're quite a good price point as well.
Okay, so production fits.
It's black, yeah. And I think in terms of shirt wise, any good black t-shirt that fits you really well.
Okay.
Yeah, I find the Uniqlo Arism one slightly overrated.
Oh.
Slightly overrated.
You're hurting all the Chinese guys in this podcast.
Sorry, guys.
Okay.
Yeah, I find the Uniqlo one slightly overrated, but any black one that feels comfortable and that looks, I find that if you wear gym material, they don't crumple up so fast.
Okay.
So you can still look smart.
Right.
Yeah. So and something breathing because in Malaysia is really hot.
And
you're running all over. So you want something that also don't show your spots and your sweat spots.
That's true.
So that's me.
That's you. Okay, I think
How about you,
think
John?
I would say
Johnston.
the exact same thing.
Yeah. So should we bring you to Lululemon store?
Yeah,
soon?
I guess I've never tried the Lululemons,
Okay.
but I agree on getting comfortable pants.
Yes.
I think that's shorts are my preferred, but you can't be wearing shorts everywhere.
Nope.
Because some people might be insulted by your shorts. You see your knees and they're like, ooh, it's not right.
Yeah.
God doesn't love those knees, you know what I mean? But I think it's wearing something comfortable and something also that looks nice.
Yes.
I realized like you know like every time it's like you know those who are in production always like no one's gonna see us. But you know what? I feel like nowadays everybody is watching and everybody is seeing. So you know I think being a little bit presentable. Okay, not like when we're like deep in the trenches. If like we are deep in the trenches and we need to be like massively dirty, you don't wear your nice stuff out. But when it comes to like show date or like something like that, I feel you can put in some effort a little bit.
Yeah, and I think that's why I really like the Lululemon pants. Not because I'm not paid by them. I would love to, but I'm not. But it's because also yeah, that's true. Let's make it happen. But no, because also I like tour as well. And when you tour, and sometimes you have to change and you have to set up and things like that. And sometimes it's like what you say, it's really important to look smart and you look presentable. I've not found a pants where I can wear when I'm doing setup and it's it's durable enough and it's flexible enough where I can bend and it can work and I can run and do whatever. But also once I'm done with that and I just swap out a shirt and I can just look really presentable as well. And it's all in the same pants and they last forever and they maintain their shape.
Yeah,
and
people listening to this will be very confused. They listen to this podcast, maybe they're like,
fashion.
What are you talking about?
But no, that's why life is important. But do you want to know what ABC stands for?
Okay, what does ABC stand for?
ABC stands for anti-ball crushing pants.
Really?
Yes, I kid you not. And for guys especially, when you try these pants, you will know.
We guess.
You will know.
I get the hint. What is ABC?
Yeah, it's great. So I think maybe our next episode we can bring Johnson to Lululemon to try.
Yeah, maybe we should. I should get one.
Yep, and
you try it out. Then we should review it.
Exactly.
Best for production on like a 5-star review.
I know. Yeah.
Best or worst for production. Okay, what is the worst thing to wear?
The worst thing to wear is skinny jeans and muscle tees.
Muscle tees, Why? Okay, I understand skinny jeans because obviously,
very restrictive.
But why muscle tees are bad?
Because muscle tees, muscle tees restricting movement, right?
Yeah,
because it's so tight, right? But as soon as, say for instance, you need to do a stretch.
Yeah. Okay.
You need to stretch from one side to the other.
Right. Oh. Okay. Okay. And plus, to be fair, not everybody who's in production is like buff. So
no one's
those
buff.
muscle tees are not. Those muscle tees are not targeted for you.
I know, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, the next and final update that we got is, do you know this company called Teenage Engineering?
Yes. Big fan.
Okay.
Big fan.
Okay. What do you know about them? Do you want to tell everybody what Teenage Engineering?
Isn't it the OP one?
Yes.
Yeah, OP one is like the OP one is like the thing that every producer wants to have.
Yeah.
Then like you go and Google the price, you're like, why is it?
Okay, so like Teenage Engineering is a company that produces instruments, virtual instruments. But like what they did really well is with the OP one, it is literally you can record on it, you can play games on it. There's a game feature in there. You can sequence thing as well. You can sample. It's almost like a DAW workstation.
It's a full production workstation.
And it's so light and it's so thin. It's incredible. I don't have one. I want to have one, but I just can't afford one.
Shout out to anybody who's wondering about our birthdays. OP1. If you guys out there would like to buy Caleb an OP1 for his birthday,
Yes.
yeah, Caleb won one OP1 for his birthday.
Yes. I think Johnson would want one.
Yeah,
too.
I think if I receive the OP1 for my birthday, I'll be very happy.
Yeah.
We're like,
wow.
Yeah.
I matter to this person.
yeah, like you can tell, like, you know what? This person listened to this podcast up to this point.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So basically, Teenage Engineering earlier this year launched a new instrument machine called the EP-133 KO.
Okay.
And that's basically a sampler, basically.
Okay.
And I love it so much. I have it as my wallpaper.
Okay.
It's just a beautiful thing. And just as of, I think in July or something, they released a medieval version. So it's like so all the sounds from the medieval times. And they basically like did the whole like, you know, really Victorian logos and things like that.
Right.
But yeah, so that's the new thing.
Right.
Like,
Okay.
did you ever think that you needed a medieval sampler instrument?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe, you know what?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I think that I might not know whether I've needed one until today, so I might reconsider. Like, okay. Maybe I might need one. But the one thing I love about like Teenage Engineering is it has this aesthetic to it.
Yep.
Which I feel, which is funny because I had this conversation with a director.
Okay.
And if you're in video world, if you've edited any like color or video, you realize that the UX, the graphics design is just like a bunch of just like faders that go left and right, you know, like color meters that go ups and down. You look at it and it looks exactly like what like production tools would look like.
Okay.
But with audio. Audio's like he was saying, audio have just like, all your plugins have ton of different designs, tons of different colors. They all if let's just say for example they have a plugin that's like modeling the analog version of it, they'll have it look exactly like that, or they have some crazy type of UI or UX. Like say even one plugin I use a lot, which is a Slate virtual tape machine.
Okay.
Yeah, if you open it, technically it just has a few functions, but when you open it, you actually can see the visual of the tapes actually moving, which is
pretty
there's
cool.
nothing to the sound,
but it looks cool.
It looks cool. So I realized when you talk about like audio, a lot of audio, specifically in studio, or not even in studio.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things audio related, a lot of things music related.
Yeah.
It's all very about aesthetic. Like I would buy something
just because it looks
if it looks really like I'll buy a guitar pedal if it like it is designed well, and of course obviously it sounds good.
Yeah.
But like the design a lot of times like captures,
Yeah.
which is really really interesting because if you talk about all the people in production, video, lighting, weirdly enough, audio. Why do we need such fanciful visuals? But then
gotta look good, man.
Audio is about looking like your studio gear has to have like buttons and knobs and things that you can click. You technically don't need it.
But it's just nice to have.
It's just nice to have, which is a very interesting thing.
Yeah.
Aesthetic. So we talk about Teenage Engineering.
Yeah.
I think even just aesthetically, just looking at all these different things, it's like, oh, it's so appealing to the eye.
Yeah, I would say I love Teenage Engineering design.
Yes.
So more than anything, like yes, obviously they make tools that's really great and really cool stuff, but more so the aesthetic. I really love the aesthetic. Like you could not know how to use a thing, but you can just have it like as like a
I've actually heard somebody actually bought like a Korg SV1. I think it's like a
synthesizer?
It's not synthesizer. It's actually like electric. They use like electric piano.
Okay.
Like EP sounds piano sounds, but it's actually more of like a stage piano.
Okay.
Yeah, I've actually heard people just buy it just to put it in their house.
Yeah,
just for aesthetics. I've heard people buy like Rhodes.
Yep.
Fender Rhodes stuff just to keep it in the house. It's just a pure aesthetic item.
Yeah.
I've heard people buy tape machines, old tape machines, just as aesthetic. So it's interesting that people buy.
It is cool though.
Yeah, it is cool.
It is cool.
It says something.
Yeah.
We don't know what it says. Maybe we'll dive into that in another episode. Why do audio people or musicians need to have such aesthetic looking things? We can discuss.
Yeah, we don't know.
But thanks for the updates, man.
Yeah, so that's our news updates. Yeah. And so for today, I put up a poll on Patreon to the subscribers and followers on my Patreon to tell them about our filming and what would they like to hear.
Okay.
So I basically just put up ideas as I was drafting what the podcast episode would be.
Right.
I just kind of put up ideas and see what Patreon supporters would think.
Understand.
And so I'm on Patreon, and Patreon is a place where I for people to come and join to look a lot at the behind the scenes
Yes.
of what we're doing, and support by joining free. And also, if you feel like you want to support me even more, then there's other paid membership. I think there's a $5 one called Nice to Meet You. So it's like a very
Nice to meet you as well. Nice to meet you.
Yeah. So very you get first dips on a lot of things. So you get to see this first episode before it goes live anywhere.
Right. Okay.
And then the next tier, which is Made with Choo, is basically where you have more insight, where you can you can have more insight to what we do and say and how the direction of content would go. Like for instance, this question was voted top voted.
So we're going to question number 1. Okay.
Well, the only question.
The only question.
Only question, because this was the top vote one.
Okay, right, okay.
Yeah, so a lot of people on
Let's
Patreon love to want to know why. And the question is, why is audio important to church?
Why is audio important to church?
Yeah.
Good question.
Yeah, why is audio important to church?
This question is for me and Caleb to feel better. We're doing this to bash out everybody.
No, we're not.
We're doing it. Caleb's lying, but we're absolutely doing it to bash out everybody.
Yeah, so Johnson, why, in your opinion, why do you think audio is important to church?
Why is audio important to church? I had this thought recently about, like, generally about production.
Okay.
Like, why is production important in a church environment?
Yeah.
And the thought that came to my head, okay, so if you attend all these type of like workshops or conferences love to have workshops, okay, breakouts, which I mean, yeah, that's what you attend a conference to attend all these breakouts. So the question always comes, and they always ask, okay, why is production so important? Why do you need like good sound? Why do you need like good cameras? And the answer always comes back to be like, because God is like a creative God, and He loves us to be creative, and all this. And I absolutely love that answer, which is true.
Yeah.
And I think that works, and and there's always those kind of answers, and the answers are always a lot about justifying like why is it good.
Yep.
But then I kind of like thinking about it. For me at least, I feel the reason why. Okay, now if I want to zoom in, the reason why production is important in a church environment is a super practical one. Is purely for communication.
Yeah.
You want to communicate a specific message, and the production allows it better. So now, going back to audio, having quality audio, whether it be gear or operators, the people who are using it, why is it important to have that in a church environment that offers them quality?
Yes.
Is because we're trying to convey like the message well.
Yes.
So I always just think about it this way. Like I said, I love like all like lighting guys, video guys, they get all the love.
Yep.
But like, so, and this is just from like actual things that have happened.
Yeah.
So there was once where there was a service where the sound, there's a weird issue between the connection between the console and our rack, and the sound just went off. And you could tell in a moment that everybody was just struggling in that service. So we were running up and down, trying to fix it. And because there's just no sound. And the moment there is no sound in the hall, literally people don't know what is going on. And whoever is that, and that came during a preaching moment.
Yep.
And and it came to a point where it was like our preacher for the day had to like kind of cut short the service. Hey, you know what, we're facing some technical stuff, hope you guys are fine, and like kind of go. So they kind of really, really made me think, like I said, I love lighting, I love video, I love every part of production.
Yeah.
But you can operate, for us, you can operate a service without, you can't really do it in the dark. So you gotta have lights, to be fair, but you don't need super fanciful lightings.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Visual.
No.
Worst comes to worst is people don't know what the lyrics are.
Yeah.
There's nothing, beautiful in the background, That's one thing.
Yeah.
Of course, if you are watching a live stream and there's no video feed, that's a little bit weird.
Yeah.
Right, okay?
Yeah.
But like if you're in person in that hall and there's no sound, there's really nothing else you can do about it. It's like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like literally the show has to stop and everybody say, hey, we can't continue this.
Yeah.
And especially if you're at a specific size, even if, let's just say, a specific type of size hall.
Yeah.
If you just don't have sound, and you know what? And people just cannot hear you. It's just a very practical thing. Yeah, like your communication has totally broken down because you don't have that piece, that fits that puzzle. So if you ask me why is audio important in churches, it's a very big part about communicating this message. And if you don't have the proper, like say it can be something as simple as if you don't have the proper operator, let's just say for example, if the volume or the levels are too low, people can't hear it, people are not going to hear it. It's super straightforward. If people can't hear it, people can't hear it. Or if something is too loud, then people are just going to be super duper turned off to it. You know what I mean? It's just a very basic practical thing. So that's my
I agree.
take.
And I think it's really interesting you said communication. I never thought about it from that respect.
Right.
But it is very true. It's very practical. I think for me, it's also what people leave away from church, remembering.
Right.
So one of the biggest philosophies and rule of thumb that I got from uni, so I went to music school
Right.
to learn drums, to study pop music. And I did a lesson I studied under this guy called Dave Hassel. And he's like sort of like the whiplash guy. Like he's known for being really blunt but he has a great heart, and he's really knowledgeable, but he's just known for being really blunt and really straight, which is actually really good to kind of point you in the direction. And we were doing this one class, and we were playing, and I was learning this new concept of drums, and I sort of got the notes right, and I sort of like grasped the concept, but in my head I was thinking very technical terms like 60 notes or or those kind of rhythmic thing.
For sure.
And my teacher just stopped me, and he said, he just asked me a question out of the blue. What are you thinking? And I said, I'm thinking about this and this, like the technical. He was like, yeah, but okay, fine, but have you thought about how do you sound? And I was like, no, I have not. And turned out I sounded really bad.
Okay, when you say sounded really bad, what does that mean?
Dynamic levels is it's too loud. There's no phrasing, there's no emotion, there's no. It's just a bunch of clunky notes.
Is it also a tone thing also as well?
Tone and basic control.
Okay.
It sounded like it's just out of place. It just didn't sound good. It just sounded very technical.
It just didn't sound good.
They had no dynamics and had no flow.
Machine,
it's really like bad sounding. And then that's when he said, actually, even when you practice, it's important to always be aware of how you sound. Because at the end of the day, when you play a gig and when you play music or when you're doing a show, the thing that people are going to walk away with is not how technical that you got, but it's the sound.
Right.
Like we all listen to music and we've been to shows and many things, and we always walk away remembering the sound of how that band sounded. Like if you've been to Coldplay, you would remember all the lights and things, but you also remember when Chris Martin sang Yellow and how the whole Bukit Jalil Stadium just kind of went crazy.
I'm gonna get those tickets in Malaysia.
But he went to
You're in
Bangkok.
so.
But I'm just saying, like, you remember the sound. Even like in church, you will remember the sound of worship, or there'll be a time where it's linked to a memory or a time where maybe you encounter God, and that's always very closely related to a sound, whether that is people singing, whether to the worship song, to whether the worship leader said something, but it's always a sound. And so I think that's why church is important, because that actually helps connect people and build things that people can work on and foundation for their faith through sound.
Wow.
So
their faith should sound.
Yeah,
sounds like a
faith should
module though. you should teach a module on that.
No.
Hi guys, this is my module is foundation of faith through sound. Yeah. Which
that's why I think sound is really important. And I think what we're trying to say here is not that you need the most expensive, like you don't need to splash out on UAD gear if you can't afford it.
What? You don't need that? Thanks.
No. I mean, everything at this price point, right?
True.
And like we know that in KL, there's also big churches, there's also small churches, there's also churches who are just starting out. But I think it's important to always work within the budget and the constraint that you have. And it's important to always have good sound, because people really do appreciate when you have good sound.
Yeah, I think like good sound or a good quality type of sound,
Yeah.
I think people know it on a subconscious level.
Yes.
Right. If it's bad, people know. Like, when it's bad, people always, I know it's bad.
Yeah.
But when it's good, those people appreciate it, will say, I thought it really sounded well. But most of the time, most of the people who are listening, it's on a subconscious level.
Yeah, which is sort of the amazing thing about sound, because it's when like things align and you don't notice it and it gets out of the way, and it creates just more flow for you to encounter God, basically. Which is kind of what we want to do at any church. You don't want things to be in the way. Yeah. So you want the experience to be as seamless as possible to people, for you to
like a bit of feedback that's a distraction.
Yep, that's a feedback distraction. Yeah,
mics are not being turned on at the correct time are a distraction. Something too soft or too loud is also a distraction. So anything that can, like, I think what I'm hearing is that really good sound becomes like a vessel.
Yes.
Rather than like a brick wall.
Yeah. And I think what we're not saying here is that you have to be perfect in like getting the right EQs and things like that. Like, we don't go for perfection because there's nothing really quote unquote perfect. But I think it's important to always gauge, always kind of step outside, like always as you mix or as you do whatever, always ask yourself, how does this actually sound? Because if it can connect with you.
Okay, I got a question for you.
Connect with
after
other people. Yes.
So how important is it that, for you lah.
Okay.
No right, no wrong answer.
No right, no wrong.
How important is it for you that what does the congregation's opinion matter?
Okay.
Is like, so congregation's opinion is like this hand.
Okay.
And then my own personal preference is this hand.
Yeah.
How much of that
Okay.
do you lean into? Or like you feel like, oh no, you know what?
Yeah.
I know what's best for them, or it's more like, okay, you know what, I want to cater exactly for them. So what is your point of view for that?
That's a very good question. And it obviously has to be handled quite delicately, but I would say neither is more important than each other.
Oh, okay.
But okay, I'll delve a bit more into it. So most of the times when a congregation member comes up to the sound team or to the FOH on that particular Sunday, it's normally always one of two things. One is cannot hear, or one is they hear too much. It's too loud.
Okay, right.
It's always one of these two. There's never, why is this drums not sounding? Oh, can you take the 3K out of the drums, please? It's never that. It's always either they cannot hear something or they're hearing it too much, right? So then, in that sense, that is important because their sole reason to come to church or come to the venue, or in this case church, is to hear what the pastor is speaking or what the announcements are, or connect with the service on different levels. So it is important that, that their hearing experience is of a good standard. Yeah. So it's important to take that into notice. And sometimes people can be, sometimes it could be a quick fix. Sometimes if the auntie or the old lady is sitting right in front of the speaker, then I think auntie, maybe we can ask you to sit where it's slightly more behind.
So that comes into that comes in more to your your thought process of like, okay, that is my decision.
Yeah.
Maybe you're not having a good time.
Yeah.
You don't really like something loud, but you're sitting next to like
speaker,
blasting speaker. So maybe that might not be the best
that
choice.
might be, and so that maybe you should sit slightly further away from the speaker. That might help. But then also I think where personal preference is also important is that for people who are on behind the desk, that's their time to worship God through mixing sound. And I think it's quite tricky because you almost have to hold two tensions together. One is mixing in a sense where you're mixing for the congregation. Yes. But also on the other hand, you have to hold that tension between I mix based on what I like, what my expression of word
expression. I think also a lot of people forget it's not just expressions. Also, you based on your experience.
Yes, on your experience. So, like for instance, for me, I'm a drummer, so obviously I'm more in tune to drum sounds. So I'm very particular on how this drum is supposed to sound. And I always spend most of the time trying to mix drums. But in all honesty, not many people really care about drums. Like especially for all the old uncle and aunties, or even just people congregating, they will normally think drums equal.
One day we are going to be the old uncles and aunties.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So I know, right? It's a bit of a realization. But you know what I mean? Like it's you have to spend time doing
Yep.
that, but also you can't spend too much time. You have to make sure that, okay, once I get a good drum tone, what can I let go? Like, for instance, if I'm not hearing that amazing reverb snare like what Bethel does, that's okay. Even though you can get close to it, but you don't have to be exactly close. As long as the snare fits in within the bigger context.
Right.
Yeah, so I think it's perspective, is knowing when to zoom in. Like, for instance, zoom in would be very good for sound check, knowing how to learn how your parameters in when how you mix certain things, how you set certain things to make it sound the best, because we do want to make whatever you have on stage sound the best, and that's a time and place for it. So that will be where sound check is, where it's line checking, where you're really refining things. But then where you need to zoom out is when you're mixing for live service, when there are people in the room, where you have to take care of their tone, their volume, and other different thing, leveling. So I think they both have to work in tandem, and they both have spaces where they work well. Like, for instance, you don't want to be mixing for the whole room while you're doing sound check, because then it's like the room is going to change when people walk in, right?
Understand.
Again, if you don't want to mix so cluedly in when there's service going on. So I think so. I say, I don't know whether to answer the question. I sort of say yes to both sides.
Yes, to both sides. Yeah, no, I think where you answered it really nicely is you say there's just like constant tension.
Yes.
Based on your own experience and also your own taste as well.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason why people trust us to do it. It's because we have the experience and the taste for it.
Yes.
But also keeping in mind also a lot of what who your congregation is. Which in the end is those are the people who are there to be ministered to.
Exactly, yeah. And I think a lot of the times, at least for me, when I do encounter this kind of issues, I would always like take a step back, in the sense that if, say, someone who was really defensive coming up to me showing a lot of like dislike or frustration towards like, oh, this is very sad, can you turn this down? Normally what I'd say is like also telling them, hey, actually this is not the time to do it, because of it there's service going on. You're disrupting what I have to do for service. But I'm not saying that we cannot talk about it now. So I'll say, okay, I heard whatever that you're saying. Could we talk about this after service so I can pick your brains more on what the issue is and sort of de-escalate the situation. And maybe for that time, if it's, say, a volume drop if you're hearing it with a filter, okay, fine. If it's slightly too loud and you can see people sort of covering their ears or not singing as loud, then maybe you can bring it down for now. But most of the time is almost this tension that you have to build. And actually just people just want to be heard. That like, hey, I'm, this is really loud. And sometimes what you hear that, I'm hearing this very loud, but then there's always something after that. Like there are a couple of times where people say it's very loud, but then after when I talk that, oh, actually, what do you mean by it being loud?
Okay,
then basically then you start to find out, because my kids or it's being really stressful or like whatever. So the sounds of just like a spark of that. So kind of everything, and then that's where you can. You can also gain quite useful information, but then also they can build connection and see where you can pastorally help them or, be a blessing to them as well. Wow. And sometimes you might find that, okay, at sound, it does help your sound. Or maybe it is too loud. Maybe it's not too loud. Or maybe actually could be a reason, or maybe I didn't EQ this properly or how.
Right.
But it could just be, then also on the head, you also managed to build a connection with this person and you managed to help them.
Yeah. I think this whole talking through things... I will have to agree that it really, really helps. Because I think a lot of times people who kind of want to feedback, they're already probably a little bit frustrated or they're annoyed by something. And for them not to be heard or for them to be their comments be taken negatively, it only like fuels that thing. So I think when you try to like, you say something about like de-escalating it, and when you de-escalate it, then you realize, oh, sometimes it's not genuinely about, maybe they just didn't know how to say it. They just said they just wanted to. For them, the only way they know how to express it is loud. But maybe it could be something else where it could just be purely, maybe the frequencies are just a bit harsh. Or, those kind of things where but if you don't take the time to really like ask them or understand them, so don't shut them down like super fast and you don't know nothing, If you knew something, you'll be standing where I'm standing.
Which is sometimes, I'm also quite guilty of that as well, because sometimes it's just the delivery of comments, it is sometimes quite off-putting. But that's also another question I wanted to ask you as well, Leeds as well. So for those who have worked with Johnson or maybe don't know Johnson, but Johnson's a really nice guy. He's really patient, and I'd say he's one of his biggest strengths is handling things really calmly, and maybe he is stressed, but the way he responds gives a very like calm.
Yeah, that's why I usually go for toilet breaks. I just go over and
Yeah, no. So actually, like I kind of want to ask, how do you stay calm, or how do you stay patient in situations where it can get quite intense and stressful? Like, yeah, how do you stay patient? And how do you stay calm?
I think just kind of like circling a little bit back into understanding that a lot of people just don't know the terminology. They don't also know how to really express what they mean.
Yeah.
And just like kind of understanding from their perspective and be like, okay, you know what? Like, I get that they don't get it. So my thought process is more like, okay, there's not much point to really be so upset or so frustrated by it. And I just generally feel like when you're in that mode, let's say the most stressful part in a lifestyle situation can be, let's say during rehearsal, during practice, everybody's asking you for everything.
Yeah.
This thing needs to be plugged in, that thing's plugged in. Everybody's asking everything of you.
Yeah.
But I feel like the moment you start to lose your cool on it, then everything becomes very, it somehow becomes harder for everybody.
Yeah.
But the moment you kind of like keep your composure and just say, hey, you know what, just take it like one step at a time. Because it can be different things, like it can be something like a situation where I'm just trying to get, the vocals to kind of sit on top of the band.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, someone's asking me like, hey, like I can't hear something in my in-ears. Like why is my cable not working? So like everything like just kind of like take it like at a step-by-step kind of thing. And I think that's the thing that's really helped me to not be so like frustrated. But then this also kind of goes back to when I was studying. We used to do these concerts, these tribute concerts to famous artists, and we would have lecturers just so if you were running, let's say for example, front of house for that particular college event, you have lecturers just next to you just asking you, and I think like at those points, like I can generally say that's where I probably lost a lot of like patience and whatnot. But I think, I know, at least for me, where I probably learned how to build up a lot of that is just through also going through very tough situations. Yeah.
Could we dive deeper in? Like, it's very interesting that you say in terms of taking one step at a time. But like, how do you prioritize what is important? Like, just like I said, you're trying to sort your thing out with like vocals, but then somebody asking for a cable, somebody asking you for changes, and like your lecturers. So like, could you just talk us through your thought process of what worked for you in being able to, like, say, take one step at a time, but how do we apply one step at a time?
I think for me, the first thing, like, is just to communicate.
Okay.
So let's just say, for example, I'm struggling with something over here, but somebody is asking me something over there. Communicating, like, say, hey, I'm having some problems here. You just have to say, oh, maybe their stuff is a little bit more on priority. Let's say they can't hear something in their in-ears, then maybe my thing has to wait.
Yeah.
Vice versa.
Yeah.
It's something that I need to solve here.
Yeah.
And if their thing can wait, then we try to. But I think the most important thing is as long as you communicate things over and explain to each other, so at least they know what's going on.
Okay.
The problem is that when you, let's say, the auto thing would be like, okay, I'm very frustrated. I'm trying to figure out where I'm going, and the person's asking me, I'll just tell them, just don't disturb me right now. You know what I mean? That doesn't help the situation at all.
No.
So they are lost. I'm frustrated, and both. One person's lost and one person's frustrated, and it just adds on to this whole thing. Yeah. So I think it's really, really important to just communicate. You can be like super duper frustrated at that moment, but I feel as long as you communicate those things over, like, hey, you know what? Give me like 10 minutes. I'll get back to you in 10 minutes. Because what I'm doing right now is very important to solve.
Cool.
Like, if like say, you can always, like I said, you can always just communicate over, what I'm doing right now. If I don't solve it, we're gonna have some issues.
Yep.
Further down the line. So and I think sometimes you cannot control how people react. Some people are gonna be like, oh, you know what, I totally get it, that's totally fine. Some people will be like upset with you. But I feel like it's like a battle. You just gotta kind of like keep and manage. Just gotta manage that. Manage the tensions.
Actually, I heard quite a good podcast by. Do you know the Game of Impossible guys? Leon and Mr. Idris. So they actually talk about something that's really cool. We'll link that down below and we can check them out as well. They talk about something about problems to manage and problems to solve. No, probably not the way I phrased it, but they phrased it a lot nicer. But it's essentially what's to solve and what's to manage.
So
they have quite a lot of good insights on that as well. So definitely.
And I think like just a lot of times, don't take things too personally.
Yes.
A lot of times somebody can say, oh, the sound is like that, like this is bad. I feel like don't take things too personally because sometimes it's not a reflect, like having a bad sound is not a reflection of you as a person.
Yeah.
Just because you messed up the day in sound, you are not automatically
bad
equated to you being a bad person. Of course you feel like really like, really like down in the dumps, but I just feel like don't take it too personally.
Yeah, no, and I really do resonate there because when so I'm not a trained sound engineer by any means, but I'm somehow doing audio for HTBB. And I do resonate with that because for a long time I always thought that when a feedback came in that was bad, it made me look
crushed.
really bad.
No,
it really crushed me, man. I was like, oh no, like,
and I think
and I think that came from insecurity as well. Okay. So no, I definitely do resonate with that. Yeah.
And I think just going through, like, say for example, anybody who is new to sound, you're gonna go through a lot of these kind of moments. Yeah. But I think the first thing is just don't take it personally.
Yes.
And like, you being a better communicator will help diffuse a lot more situations
100%.
than you would think you would have, Like, so all these people coming in at you with like tons of requests or like, what's this and what's that, you not being so like hard on aggressive and like listening to them and communicating with them actually helps a lot. So and then that helps manages a lot of your own temperament or just how you're feeling that day.
Yeah.
If
That's
you
good.
can manage those kind of things, then I think you won't easily.
Exactly.
But sometimes you just need to go through some tough times. You need to just go through some bad weekends. And
So as we come to a close, we always want to do a recommendation or like at least some lists of where people can take away with it. So since we talk about communication, and you're such a great communicator, Johnston, what are your 3 tips that you can give our listeners and people who are listening to this on how to improve their communication, whether it's or like in an intense situation, whether it can be on a Sunday or anywhere, it can be in a workplace or in a difficult conversation.
Right.
Yeah, what are your top 3 tips that people can take away and use and apply?
Okay, you gotta give me a second because I need to think. Top 3 tips.
Yeah, like what has helped you?
What has helped me? I think that's a good question. It's a good question, but I need to think about it
It's all right.
for a moment. I would say the first thing is not everybody who is commenting is out there to be hard on you or to genuinely hurt you lah.
Okay.
So kind of just going back to not taking things personally.
So it's like a mind shift.
Yeah, it's still a mind shift, which is another podcast.
It is actually.
So but then anyways, it's like really everybody out there who is about to give you a comment or say something about it. Yes, some people are a bit more like maybe they just really want to say something, but I feel like not everybody out. It's one thing to tell you something is out there to
hurt you.
Okay, so you gotta really kind of change your perspective a little bit and just like, okay, I'll just take everything with like a pinch of salt.
Yep.
Because sound is so subjective.
Yes.
So like generally I feel opinions can change very, very quickly.
Yeah.
It can almost change immediately. A person walk slightly further back, slightly front. It's like sound levels change a little bit through that.
Yes.
So you gotta just take things a little bit light. Not say take it lightly, but I just don't take it too hard on yourself. So I think that's the first thing that helps with am I answering your question?
I think you are. Yeah. That's top tip number 1. Change your perspective.
Just change your perspective on things.
Number 2?
Number 2. Which going back to the question I just now asked you, whether it's like, is it your opinion or it's like congregation, like I tend to lean a little bit more to what your congregation wants. Okay. As a good way to start, because I feel that's your audience.
Yep.
And if you can understand your audience, understand who are the people that you're mixing for, or who are the people that you're crafting this sound thing for, earlier on, then I think you have a very good gauge. So for me, like say if I'm mixing, I like to stop and like, usually they'll say mix and eyes on stage, but actually I like to stop and look at the congregation.
Yeah.
I find that seeing what like their facial expressions or just seeing how their experience is helps me a lot, because I know like, okay, I'm kind of on the right track. Yeah. I'm like, I'm way off tangent. Yeah. So I think knowing
which is really cool as well because
Yeah.
I also learned a tip from one of our sound guys
yes.
called John Oman.
Right.
And he gave me a really good tip in the sense that how to gauge a level of the room and the volume is
Right.
if you sing and if you can hear yourself sing
Right.
and your voice singing while the worship band is going on, that's a good level of gauge.
Okay.
Because then actually you can if I can't sing and I can't hear myself,
Right.
what other people is gonna hear.
Yep.
So actually I was like, that actually really helped.
Yeah.
So I want to say
It's
around
really-
mix for the people.
Mixing for me. Then I guess later on, when you've gotten a lot more confident in your craft or your skills, then you can slowly kind of lean more towards your own like preference.
Yes.
So yeah, I have like say for example certain preferences of how loud or how punchy I like certain kind of drums. Might not be for everybody.
Yeah.
But that's sort of my personal preference.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's because I'm doing it a while enough to
Yeah.
be confident in those decisions, and
Yeah.
people ask me, I can explain.
Yeah.
Or I can make those call decisions and like I know this is what people will like.
Yes.
Sometimes then as you grow a little bit more confident in what you're doing, you
Yes.
can be able to make those decisions. But I think early on, it's not like you're like all the way give your congregation exactly what they want. If you give exactly what they want, that's not gonna that's gonna be a tough time for you. But
Yeah.
I feel like if you just have to just lean into it a little bit more,
It's true.
then you can sort of lean little bit more onto your your own preferences lah.
What's
Yeah.
your last tip?
My last tip.
So I think we'll do a summary.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
What's your last tip?
Okay, my last tip
Yes.
is it's not really like a communication tip.
Okay.
I think it's quite a fun little production tip
Okay.
that I suddenly you talking about hearing yourself
Yep.
in while you're mixing.
Yeah.
So I can't remember who I learned this tip from, but so when there's like a moment where like the congregation is like singing,
Yeah.
and then like you could either take your worship leader or the main singer, keep them nice and loud, house super duper up front.
Yep.
The tip would be to actually lower down, whether it's just lower down the band and lower down to the singer, where they can just hear it just enough so that the congregation itself can actually hear themselves sing. And especially for like a more like stripped down moment.
Yeah.
And then I feel like that just creates a nicer vibe. It creates a nicer, you're creating a mood for that particular situation.
Yeah.
So it might not be the tip that you actually asked for, but this is something
good
that is something that actually kind of like came to mind when you're talking about like listening to yourself. So actually, people or your congregation actually want to and also need to listen to themselves, while they are worshiping also as well. This is just gonna be blasted obviously, but that's really fun, and I've tried it on multiple occasions, and I've always found it really
Helps.
really works, and it really helps. Then later on when you want to bring it back in, but it's like about creating like these like little moments.
That's amazing. So I think your top 3 tips, just summarize. 1, change your perspective. Like people are not out there to hurt you.
Yeah.
Just change your perspective.
Yep.
Try to look at the brighter side of things and actually the intention versus the reaction. Wow, that's deep. And then number 2 is also mixing for the congregation. Be aware of your
just be more aware of it.
Sort of read the room, kind of be aware.
Yep.
And number 3 is actually quite a good thing is that create
moments.
Create moments.
Yeah, I think it's just more about creating moments, and there's those moments is sometimes where a lot of times people really encounter God.
Yeah.
It can be either a loud moment, it can be a soft moment, but like you gotta create these little moments. And we're not saying that you create moments for God to work, but this is in your own skills, or this is a way you can contribute to not just you're not just pumping sound out, you know.
Fair.
Yeah, also it's your artistry,
That's
it's
cool,
also
man.
your skills, it's also this is like creating these different moments.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, that was a really good
That's
tip.
a good recap.
Yeah, that's a really good tip. And well, we're running out of time a bit. It's coming up to an hour, but we always like to leave the show with some food recommendations.
Okay, food recommendations.
Because we're all Malaysians, we all like food.
Yeah.
What is food if there's no it? What is life without food?
Yeah, what's life without food?
Well, I mean, there are many things to life without
what-
food, but I think food is quite a big factor.
Yeah.
So, Johnson, we are in Subang, right? So we're in
Okay,
this part of the world.
Okay.
What is your Chilly Pan Mee recommendation?
Chilly Pan Mee. Chilly Pan Mee is what? What is the Chilly Pan Mee? Is it like Chilly Pan Mee, right? Yeah, it's the.
Yeah.
It's just called Chilly Pan Mee.
Oh, it's called Chilly
It's called
Pan
Chilli
Pan Mee.
I think it's like, okay, I have beef with like Okay, not beef. Sorry.
Okay.
Wrong word.
Wrong word,
But like
okay.
I don't really like super artificial tasting pan mee.
Okay.
Like super like commercial. Commercial pan mee is like out the way.
Okay.
You know, so my gauge for what's a really nice pan mee, I really like the pan mee in Bangsa actually.
Okay.
You know, so it's in what's that? So it's, I don't know what you call it. Chun Heong.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Chun
that
Heong.
is like my gauge. So
Okay.
like if you talk about Subang,
Okay.
I think it's like that is like really like homemade. You know, they can tear it themselves. They
Yeah.
make everything themselves. But I think in Subang, the chili pan mee has a nice. It's not super like homemade.
Okay.
It's a little bit commercial, but that's okay.
Okay.
You know, it has just a right nice amount of levels.
Okay. So Chun Heong in Bangsa.
Chun Heong and Bangsa, but
And then
if you talk about
Subang
Subang, I
is
think just
chili pan.
chili pan mee.
Chili pan mee.
Yeah, just don't
Yeah.
smack too much of the chili. If you can't tahan chili.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, to be fair, because for those people who don't know what pan mee is basically pan mee is like Malaysian's version of pasta.
Yeah, it's just like noodles. It's noodles.
It's basically
It's like-
noodles,
it's
like
like
hands
noodles.
on. It's fresh
Yeah,
noodles, and it's normally dry. So you have like pork lard, pork mince, and then you have chili flakes.
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
really
yeah.
spicy. That adds a bit of kick
Yeah.
to your dish, and they don't serve you with the chili, so they serve it on the side, and you
Yep.
can basically choose
You can gauge the
choose
amount.
you can choose
Don't
your
be a
adventure.
hero.
Yeah, so I've never had chili pan mee until like a couple of years back ago.
Ah, really?
Well,
Okay.
I always had pan mee, but never chili pan
Okay,
pan
okay,
mee.
okay.
And then so the first time I went and tried, I took too much, and it's
No,
blew my head off.
everybody's like, you know what? I'm just gonna, because
Blew
it
my
doesn't
head
look
off.
that spicy, so you take a whole spoon and just
Yeah,
like, you know,
actually no, this is like
Oh,
a
really?
killer, man.
Oh, really?
A
It's a killer.
silent killer. So okay, Chun Heong pan mee. I've never tried it before.
oh, Chun Heong pan mee in
Okay.
Bangsa is good.
Okay, because I normally just try like I just normally eat like the commercial like Super Kitchen or Kin.
But why those ones are nice though?
Yeah, those are
Like,
nice.
Okay, a
So, but,
super commercial pan mee is like mean to mean.
Oh, I mean, yeah, okay.
Face to face, that's like super, but I have a market, you know, like
Yeah,
some
yeah,
people
yeah,
love
yeah,
it. I
yeah.
just don't like the super
Yeah.
commercial tasting pan mee.
You are
That's
more
me.
artisanal.
I like the artisanal, you know. I like how all some noodles are not really like
Yeah.
in the exact like
Got
shape,
you.
you know. Yeah.
Got you. Okay, so Chun Heong.
Chun Heong.
We try it
Bangsa.
next time. Yeah, Bangsa.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, thanks for sharing your ideas,
Thanks.
Johnson. It's been nice chatting with you
Yeah,
again.
it's nice chatting you. again.
Anything you want to leave our listeners with before we wrap up the episode?
Nope.
Nope. Great.
Nope.
I don't have to. So yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for listening. Again, we're a podcast that we release a new episode monthly. There
Yeah.
we go. Finally got my words right.
Yes.
And yeah, so we're on Apple Podcasts, we're on Spotify, we also have a YouTube
Caleb
channel.
loves Apple, by the way.
I think
Yeah.
Apple, yeah.
So just listen there, he'll be happiest.
To be fair, actually, yeah, no, I do listen to Apple Podcasts. But yeah, so yeah, thanks guys so much, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao. And eat some chili pan mee.
Yeah, eat some chili pan mee.
Eat some chili pan mee.
Yeah.
See ya.
Ciao.
Ciao.